Oh, okay. Again, we can take a deep breath. It's happened again, another Monday morning, and he is here, and he has blessed us with some skin.
Yeah,
Some
man.
skin there, some
I was
tan
gonna,
skin.
I was gonna take the shirt off altogether, but I don't want anybody to throw up.
How you doing? How's your weekend, and everything?
Good, very good. I'm a little bit injured, but
What'd
we
you do?
I have a sports hernia, and it really
Oh,
acted up. And it's from just rotational movement, and that's all I do all day.
right.
You know,
Oh,
just overuse, and shit starts breaking down like a car
I
when you get
know.
older. Yeah,
Isn't that true? I was the
it
same way.
really
I
is.
love going to the gym. I hate taking a day off, but I have noticed I've been taking a few more days
Yeah,
off lately, and it's
yeah,
better. You feel better. You're
definitely.
refreshed. Yeah, definitely better.
Which is
Uh,
kind of.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's really interesting because I was rummaging through some stuff the other day, and I came up with this. This is a prescription, a doctor's
Mhm.
prescription, legit.
Yeah.
And this is from, oh God, my son was in high school and he broke something. I forget what he broke, arm, leg, I don't know, who knows. But he wanted us. The question was, when he got the cast off, when can he start training again? He wrote a prescription for training, and it says up to 5 to 7 sessions per week, 30-second shadow box, 3 minutes rest.
Huh.
And so what I'm thinking is, this is really what doctors should be writing more of, other
Yeah.
than medications and
Oh, no kidding.
like, so it goes back to you and I. We're getting a little older, a little chipped up from banging around all these years. We have to take a little bit of doctor's advice and take a little time off, and it's so difficult. I can't sit still.
Oh, I know. You do this. So there's two parts to it. You feel like you're missing the day. Your routine now is broken.
Yeah.
So your process isn't the same. But then you do feel better the next day. It's like you've got your muscles are rested and everything.
And Saturday was a tough day for me because I was supposed to. There's two test assessments per year, only two, with Royce up at in the martial arts academy. And Saturday was an assessment day, and I worked really hard in preparation. There's a lot you have to know, and I just can't do it. I was in so much pain Saturday just walking.
Yeah.
You know what it feels like, Tom? Like you got pulled groin on both sides at the same time.
Oh, nasty. So what, do you get surgery on that or what?
It can lead to surgery, but the first medication is rest.
Oh.
Very first medication.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. And then yesterday we had a golf outing. There's a young man who
I saw that posted. It was very nice.
Yeah, so there's a young man, Eric Perdon, who played university, Montclair State, when I coached there. When my son Sean played there, he later became a Secret Service agent, and his partner was a combat veteran, and took his life. So this is an outing, and there's a foundation in his name. This outing was for, but going back to the injury, I mean, golf is nothing but rotation all day long.
Yeah.
So I just rode in the car. I mean,
So Ron Jameson, our veteran up in Buffalo, asked a good question. How's our buddy Brad doing? I'm assuming
Brad is doing much better. Ron, thank you for asking. We're going to meet next Saturday at 7 a.m. A whole bunch of us, and Brad's going to be part of the group. We're going to do a little mountain hiking.
Oh, that's right. You told me that. That's right. 7 o'clock. Oh, I'm trying to get that. I'm going to try to get that.
We're gonna do a little patriotic, in celebration of Independence Day, and also because Brad's back in the fold. And thanks for asking, but knowing Brad, he'll be fine. Yeah.
Good. So the fingers. So Brad, just so everybody knows, if you missed it, was at home working with a table saw and cut the wrong thing. So the wood, he cut his hand pretty severely. Right, lost all his fingers.
Yeah.
And they're hopeful that like 4 of them are going to stay.
Correct. Yeah.
That's amazing. You think about it, right? Really, because they were cut right off, put them back on.
They took capillaries and blood vessels from the top of his foot and transferred them to his hand. So that's part of the recovery too. He still has now the foot's also recovering from that part of the surgery. Yeah. So it's a pretty long process, but he's a tough guy. He's a competitor. He's a fighter. And like I said, I know a year from now, I'll be calling Brad 5 a.m. like you and I were up, and he'll be laying pavers or doing something.
Yeah. So I don't want to make this into, it's not about me, but I was just had a show with Kevin Allen before, and we talked about how yesterday Brian Millen and I represented the Rangers at the Gay Pride Parade in Manhattan. And it kind of made me think back, 10, 15, 20 years ago. I never would have envisioned that I'd go. It shouldn't, like we talked before, we all evolved and it shouldn't be a big deal at all. It's not. And it was just, to be honest with you, it was an eye opener for me. I've been lucky with the Rangers. They've had me go to a lot of events. I went to Juneteenth event last summer, and that was a real eye opener as well. Obviously, I knew what Juneteenth was, but to be there in that community when they were celebrating and what it meant to them. Like I got up and spoke on the stage, and a couple of women came over later on, and they just thanking me so much that I was there. I guess I was a white guy that was there at the event. And same thing with this Pride Parade yesterday. It's just, you could tell how much it meant to all the people in that community to be able to celebrate with everybody else, be themselves. Yeah, it was good. And I think it just makes me think too, and again, I know you're saying we've learned so much. Like I've learned so much. I know you've learned so much too. That maybe we had these old thoughts. We lived in an environment before, like for me growing up on a farm and playing hockey. It's like I just didn't even know what gay was, to be honest with you. It just to accept it, to not accept it. You think, but really, it's not really not even really our place to accept it or not, right?
No, and we're always afraid of what we don't know, and that's where prejudice starts, I think.
Yeah.
And it's maybe it's a genetic survival skill that, like, when we see somebody who looks different, it makes our antenna go up a little bit. But we're not still. I mean, we're a long way off from the caves. I think we need to change our thinking that way.
It's totally true. Yeah. It was incredible watching the number of people there watching the event. The streets were packed. The number of people actually in the events, it was huge. I took the train in from Greenwich or from Portchester in the Grand Central, and I guess I was kind of naive, not realizing how big it was going to be. But once I got on the train and saw the people getting on the train to go to it, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
We were joking around, Brian Mullen and I. It was, like I said, when you watch a ticker tape parade, like when the Rangers won the Cup or the Yankees won the Cup or Giants, something, whatever it is, it felt like that. It was the crowd was just going nuts. It was really, yes.
That's good stuff. Real good stuff. So you know what I read this morning, Tom? Going back last week, we were talking about multisport and kids focusing on, specializing in a sport at too early of an age. The number one draft pick in the NBA this year didn't play basketball in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was a football player and baseball or something. But yeah. So again, he's maybe a little bit of an outlier because he's just obviously an incredible athlete. But look at Andre Miller. I mean, he was a forward all his life. Then he gets to Michigan, and they're saying you're playing D. Yeah. And as you know, as a defenseman, it's not that transition. It's probably easier to go D to forward. Much easier than forward to D, I would think.
Yeah, much more reading the play as a defenseman, right? As opposed to just trying to make something happen. Yeah, I agree. But that is true too. And again, I think we all understand what parents are going through. They love their kids. They want they want to give them what they view to be the best. And when you get in that youth sport environment, very often that's what appears to be the best for that child, is to have, like, say, okay, you're going to focus on this one sport. But isn't it weird though too? Like, it's so many of those players that are pushed like that into that one sport just lose passion for it, just don't want to do it anymore. Yeah,
there's some pretty frightening statistics. I think USA Hockey says that the median age of kids quitting playing hockey is 12 years of age.
Wow.
And so I would think that might be across the board with all sports.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
And
it's funny. You see the parents, and you've coached for many years as you have. You see parents who were arguing with you about the way things are done, come back to you later on and go, oh, I see what you mean now, right? It's like, 15, 20 years later. Yeah.
You know what is great though, Tom? So yesterday at this event, there were Montclair State University players that played with my son, Sean, and you run into them once in a while. It was great. It's always great to see them. And then years back, Bruce Driver and I had a junior A team, and one of the players was there, and he's now 39. So time flies pretty quick. But it's just great to see what they did after hockey and where their life has led them. And
is it true? Like, if you've had an impact on that young person's life, it's really rewarding. Yeah,
that's why we do it.
Yeah, I've had I think I've told you a story before. I'll mention his name. He's a great guy. He's Max Cuomo. Max actually served our country. He was in the Army for, I can't remember how many years. Lives up in Denver, married now, children. And he was that kind of kid that. He was a big kid always, and he was always defending his teammates, but he was always getting penalties. And they had the rule: if you get 5 penalties in the game, you're out of the game. And I think suspended for 1 game and then 2 games. So during the games, he would be pretty much always getting to the point where I had to sit him on the bench or he's going to get suspended. And the one game, he got to the 4th penalty, and late in the game, he took his glove off his hand, put it on the end of his stick, and fashioned it so the middle finger was on his glove, was sticking up. So when the referee came by, he shoved the glove in the referee's face with the middle finger. And I remember watching him do it, and the referee looked up at me. We both started dying laughing because he was just hilarious. He says, "Tom, I got to throw him out." I said, "I know, but it's still so hilarious. It was funny." So he was always, he was always this kid getting in trouble, and coached him in high school a little bit, and he got in some trouble off the ice and all that stuff. But he then went in the Army, and in the recruiting process, his recruiter was a Kings fan when I played for the Kings, and told. But so when Max put me down as a reference, and the guy goes, "Tom Laidlaw from the Kings," and Max goes, "Yeah," and so the guy remembered. I thought this is pretty cool actually too. So the guy that was recruiter had gone to the Kings game when he was younger, and his whole group of kids always around. They're always asking for sticks, and they were always like, "Give me a stick," And I would always say to the kids, "If you want a stick, you have to say, 'Please, may I have a stick?'"
Right.
So I guess it stuck with this recruiter. He told that story to Max. He says Laidlaw was the only one that was making us say please. So once I said please, and I was pretty proud of that actually. That you're trying to teach the young kids a lesson, and that he remembered it.
He remembered it.
Yeah. I've been I know we talk a lot about the physical stuff too, but I've been really getting into all the mental health stuff lately. I guess my eyes are getting opened up to it more, how much of a problem we have, excuse me, with mental health. And we're trying to put together, I think, did you and I discuss this? I can't remember where there's a few there's suicides all over, but there had been kind of I guess you call it a rash of suicides here in Connecticut amongst teenage, particularly boys. Your opinion then, if somebody gets to that point where they're thinking that, do you think they are able to figure out, okay, who do I contact because I've got these thoughts of hurting myself? Do you think the information is out there and that people would understand that?
Probably not. Probably not. It depends on the age of the individual, but probably not. Even within the veteran community, because it's 22 a day is the average. From what I'm understanding, the first thing you should do is just ask: do you feel like you're going to hurt yourself?
Right. I've heard that. Ron brings up a good point too. I've gotten lucky. I met this very nice young lady. I have her on every Tuesday. She's a licensed hypnotist. And it's funny because I don't know how when I think of before I met her, when I thought of hypnotism, I thought, well, it's, the crazy guy with the watch, thing in front of your face. She says, no, we all really get in that hypnotic state every day. It's just you're kind of like you may be driving down the road or sitting there watching TV, and your mind is just somewhere else.
What's the wonder? Yeah.
So it's interesting, and she talked about that too. That it's like that if you see signs of a thinking of something gone, ask them. Like are you thinking you're hurting yourself? But do you think it's always I probably answer my own question, but it's not always that people will see signs, right? That maybe the person's got it internally and not showing any signs.
Yeah, that's what makes it so difficult to kind of get a feel. Met a guy 2 years ago who owns a pharmaceutical. He's got I got to follow up on it, but he was developing a nasal application of ketamine. And if you get a suicidal ideation, you grab that and you spray it up your nose, and believe it or not, the thought goes away.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I got to follow up because he was working on the FDA's approval of that, and I thought immediately of the veteran community. But anybody really, and there's been such a uptick in suicide due to COVID because of isolation. I mean, I really, truly, firmly believe that when we're talking about mental health, that we're all low-grade depressed right now because of what we just went through. And now what we're continuing, the country's a mess. There's never any good news. It's just bad news and more bad news and more bad news. Yeah. And I think the isolation of COVID was something we weren't used to. We never had that in our life.
Yeah.
At least in my generation. And it really has fouled up a lot of people.
So let's say, Mark, that I think you and I are just talking our way through this. I don't know if we know all the answers. I know we don't know all the answers, but so let's say somebody's out there listening to us right now and they're having suicidal thoughts or thoughts of hurting themselves in some way. But nobody around them really notices. I have had a lot of people come to me too and say, just nobody cares about me. Like nobody wants to listen to my problems. Everybody's just got their own problems. I think that's a big thing. In fact, a buddy of mine, I won't mention his name, because I really don't know for sure, but I'm told, and I'd coached with him in the past, that he's gotten in the business now where he's not a licensed psychiatrist or anything like that, but he just sits and listens to people. People hire him just because they don't really feel like they've got somebody in their life that is non-judgmental, that'll just sit there and listen to their problems. It's like everybody wants, once you start unloading on yourself or your problems, then everybody wants to dump their problems on you, and you're just looking to vent with somebody. I thought that's I think that's pretty interesting. There's a lot of that going on. You hear a lot of people talking that it's just like nobody cares about my feelings whatsoever, which I don't think is true. Well, maybe it is in some cases, but I think maybe we've forgotten to just sit and listen to people too, right?
Absolutely. I also think it's important to understand that you've got to go in your own. If you're not feeling well, you have to be comfortable. Maybe it's someone that's not a family member or a friend. To seek out a professional. But on the flip side of the coin, if you're in a bar drinking with all your buddies and this is your pattern of life, and you're concerned about your drinking, and you say, "Hey Tom, I think I might have a drinking problem," those guys are going to turn and go, "No, you don't.
Yeah, you don't drink enough. Yeah,
you don't drink enough." So you gotta kind of factor that into it. But I certainly don't want to say what needs to be done because I'm not anywhere near educated upon this. But if you are hurting, tell somebody, talk to somebody, because there will be an ear that'll listen. And if you do see somebody that maybe you feel they're showing you indication that they may hurt, just ask them.
Yeah,
just ask them.
And one of the big fears, I think, is saying stuff that people think, oh, he's damaged goods, or like Ron brings up a good point here too, where people make the comment like, put up here for him, just get over it. Well, okay, yeah, you may get people that act like that. And maybe some people are going to label you, but I think there's so many other people out there that won't be like that. And maybe it'll be in phases. Maybe somebody will initially be like that, and then they'll be educated like, no, this person's important to you. You need to support this person that's come to you for help, right?
Or they may not understand the level of the depth of their despair and just say, get over it. And then find out later that they realize they really are sick, and then they'll come back to try and, I'm sorry, I know you need help. And if you do get that reaction, just go to another person.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, don't quit. Don't quit on yourself, right? Yeah, I remember, so how many years ago, there's the whole Sheldon Kennedy case, and Sheldon was a hockey player to come to me to represent him when I was in the agent business. He'd been sexually abused by his junior coach. And I'll never forget when he called me. I knew him fairly well. He had just asked me to represent him, and like about 2 weeks later called me up and told me he'd been abused. And I'll never forget, because I was lucky enough that I was in the agent business. The league and the Player Association had just started that players assistance thing with the doctors. So Dr. Sean, guys. And I said, because I'm smart enough. I really didn't. It was just a knee-jerk reaction. I was smart enough to say to Sheldon, listen, I don't know exactly what we're going to do. I'm with you. I won't leave your side. And then called the doctors right away, and they took over from there. But it was that, and that was a really learning process for me too. And I think I'm still learning about all that stuff. But and do you think too? It kind of, we're getting bouncing around a little bit, but there's also a lot of abuses going on right now. And I have heard people make the comment sometimes that like somebody maybe takes a year or 2 years or 10 years or 20 years before an abuse victim can come forward. And people make the comment like, oh, why didn't they come forward sooner? You don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know the support system they have or what's happened.
So we spoke last week.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we spoke last week about bullying, and I owe Bill Kondratiuk a phone call, but I would like to put together some type of mentoring program, something to let kids know, hey, if you're being bullied, and I'm a hockey fan, I can email Tom Laidlaw and maybe do a FaceTime, and he'll tell me his story, make him feel better about himself, and give him a little bit of currency to go out and maybe puff his chest up and say, hey, no, stop. Because a lot of this can be, the bullies will, if you tell them to stop, they'll probably go to the next, what they perceive as victim. I don't want to get into the bullying, but I think
that'd be great.
Certainly that factors into mental health is if a kid's bullied for a period of time and they don't have a mechanism with how to deal with it, you can see, and some of the mass shooters at the schools were kids that were bullied.
Yeah.
And it drove it to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I do get approached by a lot of families, parents who their children just don't feel good about themselves. They just don't love themselves. And they really have depression and anxiety. You hear that a lot more now. And it's interesting when you talk to them. And again, I've been fortunate with this whole True Grit Life thing of where it's gone. Like people now, it's not as much they want a part of Tom Laidlaw. They want to be a part of the True Grit Life. Like how do you get that discipline in your life? I think I know you agree too. Discipline is just such a huge word. in your life to, to get to the point where you love yourself so much that nobody can bully you, right? That you just, you don't pay attention to it. I think you and I talked about it. There's a Selma Hayek, who I've never really viewed as a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
Saw a fantastic video of her the other day. She's Spanish, beautiful woman, obviously. She's speaking to somebody there. And she said, so you don't speak Spanish, but I do. So if I insult you in Spanish, it doesn't affect you, does it? Because you don't understand what we're saying. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, just don't listen to the words. Like, don't listen to the words can't or quit or, just.
Oh, that's a great point. And I think we were talking last week about like how we perceive things. So this morning I had to bring my car to get fixed, and it started pouring, and I'm walking back, and I started getting like kind of pissed off, and then I thought, just water. I'm about to go in the house and stand in the shower.
Isn't that true? It is true. You think about that. It's raining, and you're like, gotta get out of the rain.
Yeah, a whole lot more water in the shower that's hitting me now. Yeah, so it's like, we really have to be careful with that. Yeah.
Don't you think that's true? Like, we get conditioned about so many things in our life from other people telling us how bad something is. So this is terrible. Like, I'm big on I don't believe in calling Wednesday hump day. That, to me, that gives the connotation that you're just barely getting through the week. I gotta say it's pump day, or thank God it's Friday. Well, I'd say no, thank God I'm alive. Like, it's
all how you look at it. I don't think I'm short. I'm just vertically challenged.
Exactly. You just felt the sidewalks too close to your knees. But it's true. They just like all this stuff. Like, I think we've joked around with this before, where like now when it's cold, they call it a polar vortex.
Oh, I know. Everything's death. Well, even just everything, is death and destruction.
And again, I don't think people doing it intentionally. I mean, if it's a TV thing, obviously people on TV, they're paid to do something. They're publicly traded companies. They're there to generate revenues. So they want to bring listeners in, so they sell more advertising. That's their job. But by doing that, they create these scenarios where, like I said, it's a big, huge thing all the time. I remember years ago, I can't remember who was president, even it doesn't even matter. They were talking about this wave of people coming in from South America that were going to cross the border. So it just never happened. It's like, and I don't blame. I'm not saying Republican or Democrat or whatever. It was just like all of a sudden, they just don't talk about that anymore, right? It's
probably the oldest quote in journalism is, "If it bleeds, it reads." So if I walk an old lady across the street, no article. If I jump her from behind and give her an elbow, then there's an article.
Oh yeah, totally.
So no one cares about the good stuff. It's only Isn't
that true? And we're both patriots. So I just think this country, we hear all the negative stuff all about, and it's there. There's no question. There's racism, politicians, all this different kind of stuff. Or price of gas is too high. But there's so many fantastic things about the country too, like the actual country itself, the Great Lakes, the Rocky Mountains, beaches. It's unbelievable. You really don't have to go anywhere. But like you just said, we don't hear about that all the time. Somebody's going to do an article about how nice the Great Lakes are or Rocky Mountains. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to talk about racism, crime.
Pick up any newspaper, and before you get to the middle of the paper, it's just nothing but dysfunction.
Oh, God.
Murder, mayhem, everything's bad. Nothing. There's not one article in there, and then you get to the sports, and depending on who you follow, it could be good or bad.
Yeah, totally true. Did you watch pretty much all the finals? Did you get much of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think McCarr is just another shining example of how some guys just slip through the cracks.
Man. Oh,
I mean, who was it?
Isn't that true?
Played at Amherst.
Is that where he was? Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was playing like junior B or something like that at home. When he's home. Yeah. I guess, and there's a good example. It's a good example there. Yes, you don't always have to be at the highest level. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
yep.
That is true. Right? Don't always like this moving around from team to team to try to find the right team for you. Just play on a team. Yeah.
Let your game speak for itself.
Yeah, definitely.
But and Bednar, what's his Bednar?
Bednar.
He's won East Coast championship,
I saw that.
American League championship, and now NHL. First guy.
Yeah, definitely. August 6th, our swim across the Hudson is taking place again. I know we keep talking about this every week, and we will continue to talk about it every week. It's a fantastic event, getting bigger every year. This will be the fourth year they've had it. Again, they'll swim for the mainly Navy SEALs, but other people in there. Probably around 200 this year. We figured
easily. Yeah.
So they'll swim from Liberty State Park in New Jersey over to Lower Manhattan. Again, fantastic event. They stop at two separate barges that Mark puts all that stuff together. him and his team, and they get up on the bars. They do 100 push-ups, 200 pull-ups. 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups, and then finish the swim. And again, the funny part was that, and we kind of laugh about it, but last year, this is not supposed to be a competition. There's no race to it. But you got Navy SEALs, right? They're the type A personalities of type A personalities, So even though you tell them there's not a race, they're racing. And because they had limited number of police to monitor people to make sure nobody drowns, obviously, they said, "Listen, you got to wait and leave as a group." So they were pissed. The guys were like, "What?" Oh, it's funny.
But it's gonna be a quick. I mean, already this weekend's July 4.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, the team. Tom's right up on my side on the barges and helping. He's a hard worker, and
it's a blast. It's fun to be a part of.
Even though we almost didn't make it to the first barge last year, and we're spinning around in the middle of Hudson River, spinning the wheel. We're not going anywhere.
Mark puts together. What's the company that with the barges and boats?
That is Don Joy. They are rescue divers and salvage company.
So they take us over they take us from Liberty State Park in these smaller boats over
Quick
to
boat,
the barges. And so the one guy, we got on the boat last year, and all of a sudden we're going all over the place, and the guy's spinning the wheel, he can't control it. We think the guy's drunk or something like that. But I guess hydraulic fluid or something.
Hydraulics went, yeah.
So that
was I thought, here we go. We're not even going to make it to the first.
And I guess he must have done it so many times. He didn't bother to even try to slow down. He just figured out.
He just kept it going.
That was funny. It was funny last year too. There's some women swam last year. They were in fantastic shape, and this one really nice woman. I can't remember her name. She'd gotten hypothermia.
Chris Bachman.
Chris, yes, she was very nice. So she was shivering out of control. So now all the Navy SEALs, there's no shirts on, right? It's only us guys working there. So I pulled my shirt off to give her the T-shirt, which they'd given us the T-shirt anyways. It was one of those ones from the event. And then they've got a bunch of blankets and that. And Bill Brown, who's a fantastic guy we talked about, he was one that Bill thought of the idea for the swim. We talked about it a lot last week. So this woman had said to me, she was so sweet. She said to me, "Tom, when we leave, make sure I give you a shirt back." And I said, "No, it's a T-shirt. I'm fine. And plus I get to walk around with no shirt on, so I felt pretty good about it." And she says, "No, I want to make sure I get the shirt back." So Bill didn't hear that conversation. So he comes over, and I said, "Do you want me to give the shirt back?" And he's the leader. He wasn't being mean to me or anybody, but he's a leader. He in his mind, no, she keeps the shirt. And that's right. I can't remember exactly how he said it. And I felt bad for him because he snapped pretty good. "No, she keeps the shirt. I'll get you another one." And it was like, I know Bill enough to say he wasn't being mean to me. He's in charge. He's the boss.
No, he's making the right decision. You gotta have somebody in charge here.
Yeah. Because you told me a story one time you were doing something with Bill where a decision had to be made. You let guys have a choice, and he was like, "Nope, they don't get a choice. We're telling them that this is the way we do it."
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. It was over transportation, and he said, and it's true. He's command and control, and it was the first time I heard that. I'm not military but when he said command and control, I kind of looked it up, and I said, "Oh, okay." He wants to make sure that he has command and control of everybody,
right?
And that's the way they roll. And that's the way.
That's
why they're the most elite fighting. And that's why they're. Pardon?
It wasn't something to give guys an option of what they wanted to do. Was that what it was?
So the first year they had rung the bell on Wall Street. Prior to that, I should say, they were on Fox and Friends, and I had provided limousines to bring them back and forth. And then I said to Bill, from that point forward, do they just take mass transit to get back to New Jersey? He goes, "No. Get the limo to bring them back." I go, "Okay, good." Right. It's cost involved, but it's command and control. And I just went with it, not knowing what it meant, and now I do, and now I understand what he means.
And I don't want to paint the wrong picture of Bill. We've talked about before. Fantastic father. He's great with his kids. Great, dedicated guy. He's a great lawyer and everything. He's got a fantastic career as a teams guy. But he is, when it's time to take control, he doesn't ask permission. He doesn't worry about people's feelings. Somebody needs to take control for the safety of the group. And
for me, and I think for me and for you, because we're both, we've been coaches and stuff, we're not used to being told. We're usually telling when we're coaching.
Sure.
Right? So Bill and I have butted heads, and he's always been right, and I've always been wrong. So now I just defer to him on everything.
And he's definitely the kind of guy, and I hope we're that same way too, that even if you butt heads 2 minutes later, it's over with.
Oh yeah, it's not personal. It's opinion or it's belief, And I haven't been right yet once.
We were doing that shooting thing, and we're halfway through it, and there's myself and my teammate or whatever it was. Bill came over to us. He says to the other guy, he says, "Okay, I know you're all right." And he looks at me, and goes, "I'm not sure about you yet." Thanks a lot, Bill. I wasn't sure if he was being
and that's out of love. That's out of his love for you. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if he was being a smart ass or not, but I don't think with Bill, he's
what he said when we had an internal Zoom call about how we were going to support Brad. And Bill said something to me about wanting to create an environment for him to be the highest chance of success. And hearing that made me realize that sometimes you got to do things you're not comfortable with, but that person that's telling you to do it or asking you to do it has your best interest in trying to set you up for success. And it's so true in coaching. I mean, to win it, like if winning programs always have a coach that gets that thought or that idea or understanding that everybody, not just Tommy Laidlaw and the top players, everybody has to be given an opportunity to succeed.
Right. And that's great leadership right there too, isn't it? It's getting everybody 100%. On the team to believe that they're going to have a chance to succeed as much as everybody else. Yeah, I agree. Herb Brooks was fantastic for me. And I've told stories many times where sometimes I hated Herb. Seriously, I hated Herb sometimes with the way he did things for me. But I look back now at the lessons he taught me, and he was always pushing me to get not just. And I think he was so smart about it too. It wasn't just as a hockey player. I think he really cared about me as a person and wanted me to have something to carry through with my life. Like he uses that phrase, passes come from the heart. Which he made famous. And I remember in practice many times, like he would physically, if we were just kind of going half-ass, and some of the passes were going on the tape, some of them weren't, he would stop and he was adamant. He'd get down and he'd get another player to go there, and he'd grist it like he's like this, and he says, passes come from the heart, make it work. Like put your heart into it. And obviously then the rest of us, the practice was then good because we'd all bear down and make our passes good. But I realized that it wasn't just about the passes. It was about your life. If you're going to do something, bear down, put your heart into it and get it done right.
Absolutely.
It's good stuff.
And I think sometimes as a leader or a coach, you have to be prepared to eat a little humble pie.
Yeah.
Because that makes the team believe in you. So Tommy Franks, who was CENTCOM director during Enduring Freedom, in his autobiography, he speaks of his first deployment was in 1973, I want to say. It was to Germany, where he was in charge of a nuclear detachment where they had mobile nuclear weapons. So it's a pretty high position. Morale was completely horrible when he got there because these guys were cycling back from Vietnam as a stop on the way home, and they're done with the Army by then. Because it was really a time where some bad stuff in terms of morale. And he had an infantryman come into his office that he had been kind of disruptive and not following orders. And he said, "Son, what's the problem?" And he said, "You're the problem. And you and your effing Army are the problem." And so Major Frank said to him, "Well, what's going on?" And he said, "Well, my mom passed away, and I asked for leave to go home to Brooklyn, New York. Didn't allow me to go. Then my little brother, my 12-year-old brother, was killed, and I wanted to go out in unit. So you could take your army and put it where the sun don't shine." With that, Frank stood up and walked up to the kid and put his arm around him and said, "Son, that's my fault. That's entirely my fault. I apologize. It'll never happen again." And from that point moving forward, he decided, anybody who's under my command, I am going to know as much as I possibly can about each individual person, so that never happens again, right? And I think that's a great lesson for coaching, for running a business, or just dealing with your family or dealing with friends. I mean, so many times I've been blind to people what they're going through because I didn't ask. And this goes back to the whole mental health thing. You don't have to be a professional to ask, "Hey, you feeling okay?" And then you find out something's not good, right?
Yeah, that's very
true.
It
was a great story by Franks, and it's a great learning lesson.
Yeah, it is, right too. And to fight through that, like to be a strong leader, you have to have a certain amount of stubbornness. I mean that in a good way. Like you believe in yourself, you've done your homework. So to then be able to say, "Hey, I screwed up. As much as I believe in myself, as much as I feel like I'm a great leader, I screwed up in this situation." Doesn't mean I'm a bad leader. Just means I screwed up in this situation, right?
And the thing is, you have to, I think, as a leader, understand the points in life where you can just step away from going by the book, because this is a private speaking that way to a lieutenant colonel who's the commander, and by all rights, he should probably have been, dealt with a little bit more harshly than that. But Tommy Franks saw this as a moment where you got to just push all that to the side and do the right thing.
That's pretty cool. That's a great story. I like that story a lot.
Yeah.
Good lesson for, like you said, it's a good lesson for leaders, for people, dealing with their family members, jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's very cool. Good job.
Yeah. And he's a good man.
You're a pretty fart smeller.
Well, thanks for calling me pretty. Number one, I appreciate that. I forgot to shave, but when you said pretty fart smeller, you could have said an ugly fart smeller.
That's good. Good job. Good. All right. Great show. Good to see you again, brother. May want to work on your tan a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's a little cloudy today, but I'm going to stand. There's a lamp right here. I'm going to stand under.
Good.
And 0700 on the hill.
There you go. And that's right. And I love your idea about putting together some mentoring thing for young kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, someone like Bill, who has been very public with what he went through as a young man and how he overcame it. How great would that be for that to be maybe on a website, on a platform where if he's comfortable, or anybody, or I'm sure there's a lot of professional people, whether they're athletes, musicians, or just working class people that have been through this and overcame it. And they could educate you and I on how they did it as well.
Yeah, I know. I've been very fortunate. I got to meet this Victor Brick. Victor owns about 100 Planet Fitnesses. Mm-hmm. And he had a brother, John W. Brick, who suffered from schizophrenia, I believe, and is no longer with us. So they started the John W. Brick Foundation to deal with mental health issues, raise money, and just a lot of just mental health in general. So they've asked me to be on the board of that, which is a real honor to be on that. I think they see the stuff I'm doing online with all the mental health issues. So maybe we get them involved in some way too, some of the professionals they have. They're going to put together a program where people get, I'm probably not going to say this right, get licensed to be able to help others with mental health issues. So definitely. But, I'm thinking with the kids too, maybe it's something we do. Kids are sleeping in. I think schools are done. Maybe like try to do it on a weekend or something like that, even online. Maybe like at noon where kids get out of bed.
Well, that's the beauty of Zoom and everything else now, and StreamYard and all. We could do something live and have multiple people, multiple speakers, and kids listening.
That's right. That's excellent. Good deal. All right, brother. Things are getting better and better.
All right, man.
See you next week.
Have a great day.